There is a truth so subtle that most minds pass over it. A truth so powerful that if you were to truly realize it, not just understand it, but realize it, it would change the entire trajectory of your life. No one can hurt you. Not really. Not in the way you think they can. The wounds you carry are not what others have done to you, but what you've done with those moments inside your mind. A word thrown at you in anger, a betrayal from someone you loved, a door closed when you needed it open. Yes, these things happen, but they are not your suffering. They are the spark. You are the flame. You suffer not because of what is, but because of what you believe about what is. The mind is an artist, and it paints meaning onto every moment. It paints pain where there is simply sensation. It paints abandonment where there is change. It paints rejection where there is simply a different path unfolding. The Buddha did not offer comfort. He offered clarity. He did not promise that life would be free of pain. He pointed out that suffering is optional. There is a great difference between pain and suffering. Pain is part of being human. A body breaks, a heart aches, a loved one leaves. Time moves on. But suffering is what the mind builds on top of pain. Suffering is the story, the resentment, the repetition. And that, the Buddha taught, is within our power. You see, we live most of our lives in reaction. Something happens, and we immediately become entangled. Someone insults us, and our pride rises like a storm. Someone leaves, and we collapse into the emptiness they left behind. We don't see our reactions. We become them. But there is another way. It begins with pausing, with noticing, with the radical act of looking inside instead of pointing outside. When someone hurts you, look closely. What hurts is not just what they did, but what it touches inside you. A fear, a longing, a belief about your worth that was already trembling. What you feel is not only about them, it is about you. And so, if you want to be free, do not ask how to change others. Ask how to change your relationship with your own mind. This is what the Buddha meant when he said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." You are not what happens to you. You are what you make of what happens. You are the meaning maker. Every insult, every failure, every heartbreak. These are not punishments. They are invitations, not to harden, but to awaken. You cannot control the words of others, but you can notice the voice inside that repeats those words long after they're gone. That voice is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you where you are still seeking validation, where you are still tied to being seen a certain way, where you still believe your value depends on how others treat you. The truth, you are not broken because they left. You are not unworthy because they criticized. You are not small because you failed. But you suffer because you believe those things. The path of freedom begins the moment you stop believing. Not blindly, not by force, but through insight, through looking directly into the nature of your experience and asking, is this true or is this a habit? The Buddha taught that the mind is conditioned. We are shaped by years of stories, emotions, comparisons, attachments. But just as a seed becomes a tree through causes and conditions, so too can we reshape ourselves. Nothing is fixed. No pain is final. No identity is absolute. You are not the sadness. You are the space it passes through. You are not the anger. You are the awareness that sees it rise and fall. You are not the story of your past. You are the silence behind the story. If you knew this, truly knew it, how differently would you live? You wouldn't need others to validate you. You wouldn't be shaken by rejection. You wouldn't spend your days defending your ego or running from old ghosts. You would rest. Not because life became easy, but because your mind became clear. And it begins here, with one realization. No one truly hurts you but yourself. This is not to blame you. This is to empower you, because if your suffering comes from within, then so does your freedom. It doesn't come from having a perfect childhood, or a partner who never disappoints, or a world that never lets you down. It comes from knowing who you are beneath all. The Buddha called it cessation, the end of suffering. Not because the world stopped, but because the mind awoke. So stop waiting for others to apologize. Stop waiting for the perfect job, or the perfect moment, or the one who will never leave. They may come, or they may not, but the freedom you seek, that is already within you. You were not born to suffer, you were born to wake up. Let go of the idea that someone else holds the key. You have always held it. Now open the door. So how do we open the door? The answer lies in seeing clearly. Not with the eyes, but with the mind. The Buddha called this right view. The ability to perceive life as it truly is, not as we wish or fear it to be. Right view is not a philosophy. It is not a belief system to debate or defend. It is a direct way of seeing into the nature of reality, seeing that everything is impermanent, that all things are interconnected, and that clinging is the root of suffering. When we say someone hurt us, what we're often really saying is, they didn't meet my expectation, or they didn't behave according to the role I assigned them in my inner world. Expectations are invisible contracts we never signed with reality, and yet we hold the world to them, that people should love us a certain way, that things should go as planned, that we should not be challenged or wounded. But life is not obligated to follow your script, and others are not here to fulfill your version of who they should be. This is not cruel. This is truth. When you stop expecting the world to make you feel safe, you can begin to feel something deeper than safety. You can begin to feel free. Freedom is not the absence of pain. It is the absence of bondage. We bind ourselves when we resist what is. When we tighten around pain, replay our wounds, and declare this should not be happening. But the truth is, it is happening, and your resistance does not change the fact. It only adds another layer of pain, the pain of refusing to accept what already is. Acceptance is not surrender. It is not passivity. It is not saying this is fine. It is saying this is. Now, how shall I respond? And here the second great pillar of awakening arises. When you stop blaming the world and begin to take responsibility for your mind, you regain the power to choose how you relate to each moment. You move from reaction to response, from blindness to vision, from suffering to stillness. Right intention is the quiet fire. With it is the whisper that says, I will not be hardened by pain. I will not meet cruelty with cruelty. I will see clearly, feel deeply, and act wisely. This is not weakness. This is strength beyond measure. It takes courage to sit with pain instead of avoiding it. It takes power to respond with compassion when you've been met with judgment. It takes wisdom to let go of what you once believed you needed in order to be whole. But the more you walk this path, the more you see nothing outside you ever completed you. No praise, no relationship, no possession ever filled the silent space of your being. Because you were never incomplete, you were simply unaware. And so the practice is not about becoming something more. It is about removing what is not you. The false stories, the fearful habits, the clinging and resisting. You peel back the layers, not to reach a better version of yourself, but to reach what was always underneath, the quiet, open awareness that sees all things and clings to none. This awareness is not cold. It is not distant. It is profoundly alive. It is what the Buddha pointed to when he spoke of mindfulness, the ability to be fully present with what is, without judgment or grasping. When you are mindful, even pain becomes a teacher. You can observe the sharp edge of sadness and say, "Ah, this is what grief feels like." You can notice anger rise in your chest and think, "Here is the fire again, let me breathe with it, not feed it." You are no longer the emotion. You are the space that holds it. And in that space, transformation becomes possible. This is not a trick. It is not denial. It is seeing clearly that emotions are not enemies, but energies. They arise, they pass. They are not permanent, not personal, not defining. You don't need to act on every thought. You don't need to believe every feeling. You don't need to carry every memory like a wound. You can let go, not because you're supposed to, but because you see that holding on only hurts you. This is the paradox of the path. We seek to let go, but the very seeking becomes another grasping. So the wise practitioner learns to sit, to breathe, to watch the mind without trying to change it, and slowly the mind changes. You begin to see that the same people who once triggered you now only stir compassion. The same situations that once caused rage now invite reflection. The same stories that once defined you now feel like echoes of a life you've outgrown. You are changing, not because you forced it, but because you saw deeply. Insight leads to freedom. And with freedom comes the flowering of compassion, not just for yourself, but for all beings. You begin to see that others too are trapped in their minds, that their cruelty is confusion, that their anger is fear, that their selfishness is suffering. They don't yet understand. This is not an excuse. It is an explanation. And when you truly see this, forgiveness becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. Not because you condone what happened, but because you no longer wish to carry it. You lay it down, gently, without fanfare, without drama, and you walk on, lighter. Forgiveness is not saying you were right. It is saying, I no longer choose to suffer over what you did. And when you forgive, you free two beings, the one who harmed you and the one who was you. When you still held on, do you see? No one hurts you but yourself, and no one heals you but yourself. You are the key to your own liberation. No outside savior is coming. No perfect moment will arrive, but you are already here, and that is enough. The Buddha did not offer a religion. He offered a path, a way of walking through this world with wisdom, with kindness, with awareness. Not perfect, but present. Not above suffering, but no longer enslaved by it. And each step you take on this path, each moment of mindfulness, each breath of compassion, each letting go of one more painful story, is a revolution. You are undoing generations of unconsciousness. You are healing, not just yourself, but all those who will be touched by your presence. Because when one person wakes up, the whole world shifts a little. The fire of awakening spreads not by force, but by warmth. And now, as you listen, something in you is already stirring. A quiet knowing, a deep remembering, a seed long buried in the soil of your being, beginning to break open. Let it bloom, not through effort, but through attention. Water it with silence, nourish it with truth, protect it from the winds of doubt and comparison. Let it grow into the clarity that sees all things as they are, fleeting, fragile, beautiful. Let it grow into the strength that loves without need, gives without fear, and stands firm in the face of chaos. Let it grow into the stillness that does not resist life, but dances with it. This is your birthright. This is your path. You are not what hurt you. You are what you do with what hurt you. And when you choose awareness over reaction, when you choose truth over story, when you choose peace over being right, you are already free. You do not need permission. You only need to begin. To begin does not mean to have it all figured out. To begin means to turn toward your life just as it is, without the masks, the resistance, the stories. It means to sit quietly in the presence of your own being and say, "This is where I am, and this is where I choose to awaken." You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need a shrine or special clothes or enlightened teachers on every corner. You need only one thing: the willingness to be honest. Radical honesty is the gateway to transformation, not the kind that seeks to condemn or judge, but the kind that sees what is, clearly, compassionately, and without defense. Look closely at your mind. Where does it cling? Where does it avoid? Where does it tighten around identity? You may find that beneath every complaint, every judgment, every moment of suffering, there is fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being alone. Fear of loss, of failure, of pain, of change. But fear is not your enemy. Fear is simply a signpost pointing to where love has not yet been allowed. It is the trembling of the self trying to protect what it imagines to be at risk. And yet the Buddha's teaching is clear. There is no permanent self to protect. This is not a statement of despair. It is a liberation. If there is no fixed you, then you are not confined by your past. You are not doomed to repeat your patterns. You are not the labels society gave you, not the roles you play, not the identity you grasp so tightly when uncertainty knocks at your door. You are instead a process, a stream, a flow, ever-changing, ever-evolving. The self you were 5 years ago, gone. The one you will be in a decade, not yet born. So who then are you? You are this breath, this moment of awareness, this flash of presence where time dissolves and only now remains. And in that now, there is no pain that cannot be witnessed, no thought that cannot be released, no emotion that cannot be held gently in the cradle of mindfulness. This is why the Buddha taught meditation not to escape the world, but to become intimate with it, to know the mind like one knows the rhythm of a lover's breath, to see its games, its fears, its dreams, and still choose peace, because awareness is not passive. It is the most powerful act of reclamation. To sit with your suffering without running, without numbing, without needing someone else to take it away. This is the heart of inner power. It is here, in this stillness, that insight is born. Insight into how you have created your pain. Not deliberately, not maliciously, but through habit, through misunderstanding, through the deep human tendency to identify with every passing thought and mood. But now, with awareness, comes choice. You do not have to believe the next cruel thing your mind tells you. You do not have to chase validation like a thirsty ghost. You do not have to defend a self that was never fixed to begin with. You can relax. Let go of the performance. Let go of the defense. Let go of the endless proving. Just be. This is not inaction. It is aligned action. Not based on fear, but clarity. And from this clarity, the next pillar arises. Right action. Right action does not mean never make mistakes. It means to act from wisdom, from compassion, from the recognition that your choices ripple through the fabric of existence. Every word you speak, every deed you perform, carries the potential to either awaken or further entangle. So act with care, not fear. Ask, is this coming from love or from fear? From clarity or confusion? From ego or essence? And when you realize you've acted from confusion, forgive yourself, gently, because awakening is not a straight path. It is spiral. It is storm. It is surrender. It is returning again and again to the present moment, even after forgetting 1,000 times. You are not failing when you fall into old patterns. You are only failing if you refuse to rise. And even then, the universe waits patiently. No punishment, no condemnation, only the soft invitation, try again. Come home. Begin anew. This is the essence of the Buddha's path, not perfection but presence, not achievement but awakening. And what awakens? Not the mind, not the ego, not the identity. What awakens is awareness itself, that silent, spacious witness beneath all your stories. The part of you that has never been hurt, never been broken, never been lost. The part of you that does not need to be healed, only revealed. When you touch this place, even for a breath, your entire relationship with life shifts. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to be seen or understood by everyone. You no longer carry the burden of fixing others or carrying wounds that do not belong to you. You simply walk through the world with a quiet joy, not the joy of a life without pain, but the joy of no longer resisting pain. And from that joy, gratitude blooms. Gratitude not as a mood but as a way of seeing. You begin to thank even your challenges. Thank the one who hurt you, for they showed you where you still needed to heal. Thank the silence of rejection, for it taught you to listen to your own voice. Thank the long dark nights, for they deepened your roots. Thank your doubt, for it led you to question everything you once believed, until only the truth remained. Gratitude does not mean liking everything, it means understanding everything as part of your unfolding. And from this understanding, you become resilient, not because you are hardened, but because you are open. Resilience is the ability to be with life, all of it, and not break. It is the strength to feel deeply and still move forward, to face loss and still love, to face fear and still act, to face uncertainty and still breathe. This is the true armor, not walls around your heart, but the boundless capacity of the awakened heart to include all things. When you no longer resist your experience, you become intimate with reality. And in that intimacy there is no fear. There is only life, raw and sacred and fleeting. And so you stop asking, why me? You start asking, what now? You stop saying, this shouldn't be. You start whispering, this is, let me meet it. And in that meeting, the sacred reveals itself. Even the pain is sacred. Even the confusion is a doorway. Even your tears are prayers. Because every experience is a chance to wake up. Every moment is a temple. Every breath is a bell ringing you back to now. The Buddha did not give us dogma. He gave us tools, mindfulness, compassion, wisdom, inquiry, breath, silence. And with these we build the bridge from suffering to freedom. You are already walking it, even when you forget, even when you fall, even now, as you listen. This path is not somewhere you arrive. It is who you become, not by adding more, but by shedding everything that is not true. So shed the blame, shed the bitterness, shed the belief that you are a victim of your past. You are not what hurt you. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fears. You are the stillness beneath it all. You are the one who sees, and in seeing clearly you begin to live freely. Freedom is not a destination. It is not found at the end of a pilgrimage or in the pages of ancient scriptures alone. It is not a prize reserved for the saints or the wise. Freedom is a decision made moment by moment, breath by breath, in the quiet sanctuary of your own heart. When the Buddha spoke of liberation, he was not offering an escape from the world. He was offering a way to walk through it without being broken by it. To live in this world with its noise, its chaos, its inevitable pain, and still remain rooted in peace. That is the essence of the awakened life. And it begins with this. Stop waiting for the world to become easier. Stop hoping others will suddenly behave the way you imagined. Stop bargaining with life. I will be calm when they are kind. I will be grateful when I am rewarded. I will be peaceful when everything makes sense. No. Be calm now, be grateful now, be peaceful in the middle of the storm. Because peace is not the absence of the storm, it is the eye of it. When you place your well-being in the hands of others, you become their prisoner. When you place your happiness on the fragile ground of circumstances, you will always be on edge. But when you place your trust in the awareness within you, the one that watches, that witnesses, that never clings, that never judges, you become unshakable. Not because life doesn't shake you, but because you no longer confuse the wind with your roots. The mind, untamed, is a storm. It latches onto every passing thought. It builds palaces of worry. It crafts enemies from shadows. It replays conversations that never mattered. And yet, when you sit with it, not to fight it, not to fix it, but to watch it with tenderness, it begins to soften. This is why meditation is not just a practice, it is a revolution. To close your eyes and turn inward in a world that is always screaming outward, this is no small act. It is the return to your soul. It is the invitation to step outside the noise and remember who you are when you are no longer pretending. You are not the roles you play. You are not the masks you wear. You are not your bank account, your relationship status, your career, your failures, or your success. You are awareness, silent, spacious, infinite. You are the one who notices the rising of anger and chooses not to become it. You are the one who witnesses the pull of desire and smiles gently at its illusion. You are the one who sees the ache of loneliness and rests in the truth that you are never truly alone. In this awareness, you begin to see that the suffering you once blamed on others was never about them. It was about your identification. You identified with your thoughts, your emotions, your self-image, and when those were threatened, you felt pain. But let us go deeper. Who is it that suffers? When a harsh word is spoken, who does it land on? Not your body, not your bones, but your sense of self, the imagined identity you carry around like armor. But what if you set it down? What if you stopped defending the illusion? What if you allowed yourself to be soft, vulnerable, real? Pain may still come, yes, but it will pass through you like wind through a tree, moving the leaves, not breaking the branches. This is the gift of wisdom. It doesn't prevent storms, but it teaches you how to bend. And with each moment of bending, a deeper truth reveals itself, the truth of impermanence. All things arise and pass away. Your emotions, your thoughts, your relationships, your status, your possessions, your body. There is nothing you can cling to that will not eventually slip through your fingers. This is not a tragedy. This is liberation, because the more you understand impermanence, the more you learn to hold life with open hands. You stop grasping, you stop controlling, you stop fearing endings. Because you see that every ending is also a beginning in disguise, you stop mourning the fall of the leaf and instead marvel at its dance. This is not detachment. It is intimacy. You begin to touch life more fully, not because you cling to it, but because you finally see it. You see the beauty in the ordinary, the miracle of the breath, the sacredness of the sunrise, the quiet grace in the way a child laughs. A bird lifts off, a tear slides down your cheek, and in this seeing, a new kind of love is born. Not the love that grasps, not the love that says you complete me, not the love that contracts with fear, but a love that expands, a love that asks nothing and gives everything, a love that sees the sacred in all things, even the ones that hurt you, even the parts of yourself you once rejected. Because when you stop needing others to make you whole, you become a vessel for wholeness. You radiate instead of seek. You bless instead of buying. You walk through the world like a flame, not burning, but illuminating. And this too is the Buddha's teaching, to live not in avoidance of life, but as a presence that transforms life by its very being. You become the one who listens deeply, who speaks with care, who acts not from impulse but from insight. You become disciplined, not rigid, but intentional. Because the path requires discipline, not the discipline of harsh rules, but of loving remembrance. To remember again and again, in the face of temptation, distraction, despair, that your peace is not out there. It is here, always, waiting. Discipline is choosing this moment over your story. It is choosing awareness over habit. It is choosing compassion over control. It is remembering, even when the world makes you forget. And the more you remember, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, even in the middle of conflict, you feel it, that quiet center, untouched by circumstance. Even when anger burns at the edge of your chest, you notice it and breathe instead of explode. Even when someone walks away, betrays, blames, you watch the pain rise and you bow to it instead of battling it. This is the path. Not a life without pain, but a life beyond suffering. Not a life of passivity, but a life of profound engagement. Not a life of escape, but a life of depth. And through this depth, through this clarity, through this presence, you stop being afraid of yourself. You stop being afraid of silence. You stop being afraid of what the next moment might bring, because you trust yourself to meet it. And in that trust, you bloom, like a lotus rising from the mud, untouched, unwavering lumen. You become what the world is longing for, not another voice in the noise, but a presence in the stillness. Not another opinion, but a being rooted in truth. Not another seeker, but a light that reminds others of the truth already within them. This is your path. This is your calling, not to change the world through force, but to illuminate it through your being. And that being begins now, with one breath, one choice, one act of seeing. The path has always been beneath your feet. You were never lost, only looking in the wrong direction. Now turn inward and walk. And so you walk, not toward perfection, but toward presence. Not chasing after something beyond reach, but returning, all is returning, to what has been within you all along. The path is not else, it is beneath your very feet, in the shape of your breath, in the space between thoughts, in the quiet courage it takes to look inside when the world tells you to look away. To walk this path is to remember, again and again, that pain is not punishment. It is a teacher. Suffering is not your identity. It is a call. And freedom. Freedom is not something someone gives you. It is something you give yourself. When you stop blaming, when you stop grasping, when you stop running from the truth. And the truth is simple, radical, uncomfortable, but beautiful beyond belief. No one has ever truly hurt you. They acted. Yes, they betrayed. Yes, they spoke with cruelty, left without answers, judged without knowing. Yes, all of it may be true, but what hurt you was not their action. It was your clinging to the meaning. It was your resistance to what was. It was your belief that what happened defined you. But you are not what happened. You are not what they did. You are not what you lost. You are not your scars, your heartbreak, your disappointments. You are the one who survived it all, the one who is still breathing, the one who is now awakening. And the more you awaken, the more you begin to bless even your pain. Not because it was fair, not because it was deserved, but because it carved space in your heart for compassion. Because it stripped away what was false. Because it brought you here, to this moment of truth. The truth that no one can hurt you now, unless you give them the blade and show them where to cut. And you are done doing that. You are done handing over your peace for scraps of approval. You are done shrinking to fit into roles that never suited your soul. You are done performing worthiness, done chasing love, done waiting for life to begin. Because life is already here. It is in this moment, and this moment alone. And in this moment, you are free to begin again. to breathe without burden, to speak without fear, to move without apology, to love without conditions, to live without pretending. This is the gift of awareness. It does not erase your pain, but it gives it context. It does not make your past disappear, but it shows you it never had the power to define your future. You become the artist again, the one who paints meaning, not in shades of suffering, but in colors of wisdom. You become the author again, the one who rewrites the story, not with vengeance, but with vision. And you become the warrior again, not one who fights to win, but one who stands in stillness and says, I am no longer at war with myself. Can you feel that? Can you feel the weight, not because anything changed outside you, but because everything softened inside you? This is the real miracle. Not walking on water, but walking through the fire of your life with your heart wide open, and your eyes finally seeing that those who hurt you were hurt, that those who judged you were afraid, that those who left you were lost. And suddenly, you don't need to carry the bitterness anymore. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need revenge. You need only truth. And the truth is, you are whole. You are worthy. You are enough. Right here, right now, with all your scars, all your softness, all your stories. You are not broken. You are blooming, like the lotus from the mud. Your roots are deep, not despite the darkness, but because of. You rise now not because you were untouched by life, but because you have touched life deeply, completely, and chose to stay open. That is the power of your path. The world may not know your name. You may not wear robes or carry titles. You may not speak from a mountaintop, but every time you choose presence over reaction, compassion over cruelty, truth over illusion, you are a light. You become a living teaching, a silent revolution, a blessing in motion. And that is how the world changes. Not through grand speeches or declaration, but through one human being who chooses to heal, one person who decides not to pass on the pain, one soul who says, it ends with me. That is you. You are the beginning. You are the place where generations of suffering pause and peace begin. You are the one who feels anger and breathes, who feels sadness and listens, who feels fear and does not run. You are the one who remembers, I do not need to be saved. I only need to see clearly, see fully, see what is, and rest in it, because what is a nation, even the mass, even the unknown, even the ache in your chest that has no name. It is all welcome. There is room for it all. And in that room something beautiful happens. You stop needing to be more. You stop fighting to become. You start being. And being is enough. That is the final truth, the one the Buddha whispered not just to monks, but to all who would listen. That suffering is not your punishment. It is your awakening. That hurt is not the enemy. It is the beginning of healing. And that no one, no matter how cruel, careless, or distant, has the power to destroy your peace, unless you give it away. And today, you choose to stop giving it away. You choose to come home, not to a place, not to a person, but to yourself, to your breath, to your stillness, to your infinite worth. There is nothing more to fix, nothing more to chase, nothing more to wait for. Just this breath, this awareness, this sacred, fleeting, magnificent now. This is where your power lives. This is who you've always been. This is your final liberation. So walk gently, love fiercely, speak truthfully, and remember, no one hurts you but yourself, and no one heals you but yourself. But now, you are healing, you are whole, you are free, you are home.